We're talking Wyoming Cowboys today here on Sharpen the Point. 2024 was a disappointing season at 3-9, as the post-Craig Bowl era did not go very well for Jay Sawvell in his first season. He'll look to try to build upon it in the second season. Quarterback Evan Swoboda began the last season as the starter, and he struggled mightily to get anything going, leading them to switch to Caden Anderson. Now, Anderson was good against New Mexico with 342 yards and 3 touchdowns, but who really wasn't great against New Mexico last season. So he's now the backup tight end, which likely suits him better given his athleticism was his best attribute, and it wasn't throwing the football, that's for sure. This means the job is fully Anderson's, and he will need to improve his passing ability, as he does not offer much with his legs. After having 2 ACL injuries previously, we'll see if he can provide some mobility, as that has typically been where Wyoming has been most successful, is with a mobile quarterback who could chuck it somewhere to Josh Allen. Running back wise, there's a lot of amount of depth pieces that are departing. The most important is going to be Harrison Whaley. He heads to Virginia. Whaley had some really nice games in his time in Laramie, but he struggled to be available consistently, only appearing in 4 games a year ago to preserve his red shirt by choice. Now, after approaching the 1K mark the year prior, he was a talented back, and he's going to be sorely missed. He's something they could really have used this year. Last season's leading rusher, Sam Scott, he's going to return off of what was an okay season on a per-touch basis, but he's going to be pushed for playing time by Teron Kelman, who they added from Charlotte. And then Scott, he also missed spring practice after a knee bruise that bothered him late in the season a year ago. This room is in heavy state of flux. It could go in any number of directions when the season starts, and I doubt that any are going to be super impactful, as they're really missing that workhorse number 1 top back that they have traditionally leaned upon. Pass catching wise, the top 2 wideouts, Jalen Sargent and Chris Durr, returned to their roles, which were not really impactful a year ago. But given that Anderson should be an upgrade from Swoboda from a passing standpoint, and what I believe will be a more stagnant run game than it has been in previous seasons, these guys are going to need to step up and vastly improve on their numbers from a year ago in order for them to be able to win some games. Sargent specifically has stepped up in the offseason to assume a leadership role that was lacking previously in this room. And beyond those 2, it looks like early enrollee true freshman Dion DeBlanc could see the field early and make an impact with his speed as a slot option behind Durr, who also has a number of big speed. In a rare instance for college football, the headliner of the receiving corps is tight end John Michael Gillenberg. He flirted with leaving in the offseason, but he returned after being second in catches and yards and leading the team in touchdowns in only 8 games while fighting high ankle and collarbone issues. He's going to be a key cog in the offensive success for them, as he could easily see 10 targets per game and be the focal point of this entire unit. Offensive line-wise, outside of the starting center graduating, the unit returns 9 guys who saw game action last season, giving them plenty of experience depth across the board. You love to see that for their upside for this season. They need to play better than they did a year ago, though, as contrary to prior seasons, they struggled to get a push up front for the run game and establish a clean pocket in the pass game. Jack Walsh is an experienced starter and leader who has played across the line, and he's going to move to center. He's played every position along this line. He has NFL potential, giving his versatility. Looking at the line-wise, Walsh, Caden Barnett, and Wes King form a really nice trio up the middle, and the biggest questions are going to be the tackle spots and who can step up there. Along the defensive line, 4 transfers and 2 graduations took away several guys who saw the field last season. Leading sacker Tice Westland's return was big, though, as he will provide a presence off the edge. Up the middle, Jaden Williams and Ben Florentine, they're going to take on larger roles, with Dante Drake complementing them as he continues to develop into a really nice player. I think he's going to have the capability to really, if he hits on all cylinders, he'll make an impact. Westland and Florentine are really the only returning starters along the defense, highlighting the turnover of the entire unit. The additions of Braden Wilson from West Weber State, He was an all-conference selection in the Big Sky previously. And Asaya Bogar from JUCO, he's going to factor into the other end spot opposite of Westland. They need to find a way to get home more than they did a year ago in order to get the ball back to the offense and hope that the offense takes it for more than 3 plays. Wilson is going to be a heck of a player on that side of the ball, though. Linebacker-wise, the top 2 tacklers from last season, Connor Shea and Shea Suanoa, they're going to leave a gaping hole at this second level. They took on the majority of the snaps last season, making in-house experience sorely lacking. This season, there's going to be a much more of a rotation than just those 2 guys playing, with 4 to 5 receiving playing time. Namely of those is going to be redshirt freshman Gary Rutherford. He's likely to start. He's looked at as a future building block of this defense and this position. He's going to find the field no way, no how. He's going to play because he is going to be a stud. Transfers Ethan Stolzatz from Lindenwood and Braden Johnson from Oklahoma Baptist. They have on-field experience. They're going to factor into the rotation, as will Evan Eller. He had the most playing experience of the returning guys, having seen 25 snaps a year ago. There's new faces abound here at linebacker, and even the ones that aren't new are new to the field. Defensive back-wise, losing cornerback Keeney Parks and nickelback Rook Brown to Houston, and then cornerback Tyrekus Davis to Colorado depleted the outside coverage, while starting safeties Wyatt Eckler and Isaac White both graduated, leading to complete turnover of the room. Having this unit start from scratch isn't necessarily a bad thing, given how they played a year ago. They absolutely struggled on the back end. Everything in this unit is wide open with nothing decided coming out of the spring. That is a large question mark, with transfers Justin Taylor from Wisconsin, Brooklyn Cheek from Cal, and returners Andrew Johnson and Jones Thomas. They're the current front runners heading into the fall. But then you have Jaden DaCosta from Portland State. He's going to factor in. And then Cheek specifically is probably the most interesting of the bunch. He has a solid skill set. He could be an instant factor on the field. He prefers to play that little bit of a deeper safety role where he's going to be most comfortable, but he can make an impact wherever he ends up being deployed. He's the best of the bunch. Looking at the schedule and outlook for the season, it was just an awful start last year in Salvo's tenure, and the offense was the main culprit. It showed very little signs of life last season. I think the pass game is going to be improved and be serviceable. I don't think you can expect a Hawaii-like pass game, but anything mid-level will be just fine enough. I just think the run game looks like it's not going to have a difference maker, not going to have an impact guy, and that's going to be a big issue for this team. Good news is I think the defense could be decent. It's pretty solid on the front 7. The back end looks a little rough, and best part of it, it's extremely tough to play in Laramie, and strange things happen there late in the season specifically, so you can steal games, and you're known to steal games for a reason. Starting out the season at Akron, you should win this game. If you lose this game, it's going to be a long year. Start looking at another sport to root for, because if you lose to Akron, it's going to get ugly. I think you win. You should win. But, man, if you lose that game, it's going to be a long season. Northern Iowa, I think that's a win, especially at home. Then you get Utah at home. You're going to lose this game. It's a night game in Laramie. I know things get weird, but that's going to be an absolutely explosive team. They're going to be so much better than they were a year ago, specifically with Devin Dampier there. That's just going to be a good roster. At Colorado, they're likely worse than last year, but that's still a loss. UNLV, it could be in play, but everything would have to break right. It would have to be a weird night in Laramie. Maybe Anthony Calandria plays and he's throwing interceptions all over the place. You should lose that game, but that could be one of those ones where you sneak up and jump somebody right there. San Jose State, that's a loss. At Air Force, bad loss. Colorado State at home, that's a loss. But again, strange things in Laramie at night, late in the fall. Who knows? You get a weird wind game where it's just running the ball back and forth. Maybe you can steal that. That could be some interesting stuff there. At San Diego State, you should lose that game. Maybe you have a shot there, but that's a lean loss. At Fresno State, loss. Nevada, I think this is your late in the season Laramie win. Like, you shouldn't. If this game was in Nevada, you probably lose this game, but this is your late in the season weird Laramie game that you win. And then you head to Hawaii. You're going to end up treating this as your bowl game. It's going to be your vacation to get away, get some warm weather, final game of the season. It's going to be a loss because they're going to chuck the ball all around, and I think they're much improved as well. And, you're going to end your season on a beach in Hawaii. Hard not to complain about that. So I think they're going to show improvement over last season overall, specifically on the offensive side of the ball, even if the win column does not show it. You need to show a little bit of patience here in Sawville's second year and give him another year next year. And matching last season's win total of 3 while playing better is going to be a step in the right direction as they build with youth on the roster, specifically in some leadership positions on quarterback, with Anderson and with the linebacker, and then have an eye towards shooting for a bowl game next year. Build this year, get behind those new leaders, specifically Rutherford, and build towards that bowl game and look for that in 2026.